see you found our little hiding spot in the universe. Don't get too comfortable. This is a place where you will find those with an experience that's out of this world, or possibly deep within your life. I welcome you to the Oracles with James Tyson. Lean forward and listen. We will pull you into a supernatural journey with guests from around the world, each one experiencing some of the most extraordinary phenomena this wee planet has to offer. Now, here are the Oracles with James Tyson.
Thank you, Liam, my funny little alien friend. And thank you, listener, and now viewer, for tuning into this episode of the Oracles with James Tyson. It's me, James, and today I'm going to introduce you to my friend Charlene. She's known as the Reflective Perspective Oracle on Instagram, and she's made her own Oracle card deck. So we're going to be talking about her deck, how it became something she was interested in, where her path has been taking her, and basically how to make your own deck. Well, I shouldn't say how to make her own deck. It's more how she made her deck and why, and then you can pick up on it from there. Now, Oracle cards are, they're not tarot cards. Tarots are like your set 78 cards. One isn't better than the other. I don't do well with tarot cards, primarily because tarot cards have a lot of rules. And if you know me, I'm not big into that many rules. But I like the Oracle cards. Now, Oracle cards can be anywhere from 20 to 144, depending on the person who's making the deck and what they perceive you want to use them for. They are a tool for self-reflection, also called divination cards. Something to open that side up and maybe give you a focus as a reader, as somebody who actually is looking and flipping through the cards. I found it was really just a focus point. Because as I tell Charlene, and you know from being a listener anyway, that I've actually read the backs of white business cards. And I found that I could do it because I was just something I was focusing on and got a message. Now, of course, like my varying Oracle cards, these are just fractal images. And this image may mean something to you. Or if I'm doing your reading, it may provide me with some insight into something I'm supposed to tell you, but I could bring the exact same card up to somebody else and it'll be a complete different message. And my other Oracle cards are Archangel Michael. So there's a lot of writing on them. So they actually do have a bit of a story. And I can, you read the standard little paragraph, the Michael card, and if I read it 2 or 3 times, I get kind of like, oh, that's what he's trying to say. But when I first got these cards, they were too complicated because left brain male, I just looked at the picture and thought, oh, a picture. But these things, a lot of fun with these. Or should I say fun? A lot of learning and growth doing readings with these. And those cards, again, is just a focus for me. Charlene is toning and honing and tuning her, tuning and honing is toning, I guess, her own abilities to read. And she does do readings. So again, if you get a hold of her, and I'll kind of bounce through her website's not up and running at this point, but behind me here is what her page on Instagram looks like. She is, I can't remember how many followers she has. She's got 111 followers. Let's try to get that up. Okay. I'm pretty sure she's not aiming at the 3.5 million Instagram followers and become a spokesmodel for something. But if you knew Charlene, yeah, she could probably do it. But she's just trying to get the word out there to help and to help look at you. Again, her cards are reflective. And what's really interesting about her cards, and I'm going to have to pull this up again and read it if I can, Reflective Perspective Oracles. But it's her cards are, what is it? The mystical, magical, reflective. We'll get into that because I criticize her about using a lot of words on her cards, but she does, and she gets into what each little saying on the cards mean and what the diagram means. Oracle cards come with a rule book. I shouldn't say a rule book, a guidebook. A guidebook. And when I was first told, when I first showed somebody this deck, Catherine Fallman, who is a reader out in this part of the world, who also uses the same deck. And I'll be darned if I remember the name of the deck, but she used the deck and she said, "Oh, first thing you do, you take out your little guidebook there and you throw it away, and then off you go." That was pretty hard to say or hard to take from her, but it meant more later once I started reading the cards, especially these ones, because they all come with, this card means this. What I found then was with an oracle card is if I was given this is what this card means, I was trying to get that square peg into the round hole of the impression that I was getting. So I was trying to fit whatever I was getting into what the card said or I was supposed to see. When I threw away the card, I was only getting the information, and all I learned to be comfortable and confident in actually saying it out loud. Like, "Oh, you're getting a new dog next week," kind of thing. This silliest thought would come to my head, but I had to be confident in saying it out loud because it meant something to the person I was talking to or reading the cards for. So we get into that. We do get into that with Charlene, and Charlene is coming shortly. When she gets here, I will take off my hat because that would be rude to be in a room with a lady with my hat on. So go grab Charlene, and we'll get right into this. Charlene, who is the Reflective Perspective Oracle. I have to read that all the time because everything she does seems to be a tongue twister. Charlene will be right in. Hey, Charlene, thanks for dropping by. We're laughing because we've actually done this interview basically for an hour at one other time and didn't record. We started again after a dinner break, and 5 minutes into it, I went, "Oh, it's not recording again." So
third time's the charm.
Third time. This is it. Charlene, who is also, if you go onto Instagram, go to Reflective Perspective Oracle. Reflective Perspective Oracle, because it's so easy, just rolls off the tongue. And you'll see all of her really cool Oracle card stuff, and which is one of the main reasons she's here. Mm-hmm. But a little bit of a background on who Charlene is. We've known each other for about 6 years, which we determined in the first interview.
And the second.
And one of the things is that back in the day, Skeeter Wellhouse, like 6 years ago, said I was going to bump into 3 people that were like sisters, but not related. And that they didn't always get along. It was kind of a jump, but they were kind of this core group, like these 3 people at this most likely same location. And kind of being me, goes in one ear and out the other. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. And this was supposed to be something that was going to help me on my intuitive path, open some doors, as well as like help out these 3 people. Help. I don't know how it would have helped. It was just supposed to meet them. But I was supposed to meet up with a friend who worked at a club in Vancouver. We had set up time. Okay, I'll come down and see you. And get down there, and she wasn't there. But her 2 friends were. This is one of them, Charlene. And another one, Lucy, who is actually now my tenant who lives in the house. She, when I first met Charlene, I could describe her as being sparkly, like very kinetic energy, and all of them were intuitive on their own levels and their own uses for the energies they had. It was very, very obvious that these 2 people and my other friend were the 3 people I was supposed to bump into. So things go on. We have conversations. You came on my old show that was I had a live show on the internet, and we had an episode called 2 Mediums and a Large.
I was about to say 2 large and a medium.
2 large and a medium?
No, 2 mediums and a large.
And Charlene came on and got a reading from Skeeter, which was kind of cool. Or is it Joanna?
Both.
Both? Oh, yeah, because they were both. They were the 2 mediums.
Yes.
And I was Anyway, the
two mediums
and the large guy. Anyway, you got your readings,
yes.
and from there you kind of opened those doors you had closed when you were younger. You kind of opened them up and went, oh, I can see things, and I'm going to shut these doors until later. And then...
Yeah, I mean, I don't really ever recall. I always knew there was something special. I'm not saying special about me, but special about, I don't know, life, the world, the way it works. There's some sort of magic, I guess. I felt like there was something, but I didn't quite know what it was. So it wasn't until my late teens, early 20s when I started kind of going down that path and meeting people like this, and then, cards and readers and palm readers and tea leaf readers and things of this nature. So that was one of the main first readings I had ever had. And it was quite jarring. I mean, I still have it saved to this day. And it's funny to go back and listen, like just the ascension I've taken since then. And I'd say that was probably 5 years ago, maybe long. Yeah.
It would have been 5.5, because
it could be longer. I mean, we could be completely wrong. Like how long?
Well, no, I had that show in 2014 is when I started.
So then that makes sense.
So it was after that.
So 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that 6-year span, I have blossomed exponentially in my spiritual understanding. And so here we sit.
You have blossomed, as you said, but you've actually continued almost like to open, which is what I guess a blossoming is. But you've gone into a number of different modalities. You've, you meditate, and you've actually researched things. You're going out digging into things, and a lot of those were to do with readings. And
definitely a seeker, always a seeker.
Yeah,
since I was little.
And in your readings, did you ever have a truly bad experience?
You mean readings I received?
That you received, not, yeah.
I think if I did feel like it was bad, it was only in that moment. Like, it wasn't like, oh, doom and gloom, and you're gonna...
Okay, yeah.
It was never anything like this. It was like, if anything, what always seemed bad to me was that something would take a long time. I'm an Aries. I want everything yesterday. And so it was like, you're not going to get here for another 8 years, or you're not going to meet your person for another 10 years or what have you. And that used to drive me insane, but now I understand it. So those were the bad parts of readings for me.
Yeah, and we talked about this before. In fact, just in the other interview that you haven't seen,
you will never see.
You've never actually had a reader who was a corrupt reader, we'll call it, a reader that was trying to scam you out of stuff like that.
I think I've always been protected, and I've always been drawn to the right people. If anything, back then, I feel like the people I was drawn to were not only just to help me on my path at that point in time, but also to show me that, to awaken my intuition to the sense that, that this kind of connection, this energy does exist.
Yes.
And so incrementally over all these years, it all added up to the faith and the intuition that I now hold, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. But one of the main reason I'm asking you this is that over the last few months on social media, there's been an upswing in fake psychic readers, fake mediums, fake psychics. And I was approached by one on social media. It was on Facebook, where they get a hold of you saying, would you like a reading, after sending you a friend request, and got back to them saying, no, I'm good. I'm read out. I'm good that way.
Yeah.
And then they come back saying, oh, but we have a very important message for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bait and hook.
Oh, absolutely.
When you ever hear something like that from a stranger, it's all about money. It's got nothing to do with you. It's
very predatory. And I personally believe that, well, out of all the readers I know, nobody would ever overextend themselves to the point of, unless that person is asking, like, say, for example, you're asking, and then I would offer such a thing to you. Yeah. Not like, hey, and if I did, it would be completely like free, because it would be like me saying, hey, let me help you out. It's not like I'm looking for a quick buck.
Well, yeah, it's like the kind of readings that I do, where I look at somebody and see somebody standing beside them, they only come through. They're always there, but they only come through to me if they are something to pass on.
Absolutely. So it's assistance.
Yeah, but sometimes I have a hard time determining how I'm going to say that to the person. Like, hey, well, I told you about this one story about a woman who was coming down a set of stairs, and I was going up them, and her grandmother came through, like, you've got to tell my granddaughter, blah, blah, blah. And I just looked at her and said, this is going to sound a little weird, but your grandmother is standing right beside. The girl screamed and went running up the stairs. I never saw her again. I went, okay, note to self, do not approach people like that, which is really interesting because I always had this theory that I don't see ghosts. Like, these people I see aren't, well, they're dead, but they're not, they've crossed over.
Yes.
They've done all the work. They know all the answers, and they're helping the person as a bit of a medium between them and their spirit guides and passing on information.
Well, when people die, they don't die. They're physical vessel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meat sack ghosts.
Right.
Yeah. But this person isn't somebody who hasn't crossed over.
Right.
Like I call ghosts. These are spirits. Anyway, so I assume that, well, this person already knows that this is a good idea for me to talk to their loved one.
Right.
So they wouldn't have just come through because they know this would have gone sideways.
Yeah.
And I guess it's all in the way I ask or articulate.
Or approach the situation, right?
I didn't do well then.
But I think if that person, the spirit, let's say, if they're coming through, then maybe there's something that they are aware of that needs to awaken this person that you're approaching on their path. Like, make them aware of this, make them, show them this side, like kind of lead them down this sort of, let them know there's this energy is maybe they're ready for that.
Maybe that's the only thing I was supposed to do.
Exactly.
And when the person freaked out and ran up the stairs, maybe that was my, here, go freak out my granddaughter.
Well, that,
it's
or
like,
it could have been enough. You have no idea the repercussions of that.
No, the ripple that goes out from there.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Now, how long have you been that way inclined?
Be more specific.
What is the capital of Ecuador? No. How long have you felt you have been intuitive, that you have had something around you? Well,
it isn't actually until just recently that I realized that if I look back, hindsight is always 20/20. It's something that I realized that I've actually had since I was little, and I think everybody has it. I truly believe everybody has it. It's just whether or not you're willing to A, notice it, B, wake up to it, and C, believe it. Like, to actually have faith in it. And what it is a gut feeling. Call it your intuition, call it your gut, call it your sixth sense. I mean, there's a million ways we could call it, but it's there. It's within everyone. And I think it's all those times when I would, and that's the thing, is that it hits everybody individually. Everybody has it, but it hits everybody individually. So, for example, for me, it's like a feeling. It's this undeniable feeling about something, or I'll have like a little image in my mind when someone's speaking, or I'll hear a song that like I did not hear during the day. I'm around someone and they're dealing with something, and I hear these lyrics and I tell them, and then it's completely relevant, that kind of thing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize mine until 2012 when it was pointed out to me. And then again, in hindsight, you go back going, oh, yeah.
That's what that was. That's what that was. And the thing is that I don't know about, for women, I think maybe everybody, but like, let's say everybody. But sometimes I've been in relationships in the past where I've been in a situation where I could feel something about my partner or even a friendship, what have you. And that other person says to you, oh, no, you're crazy. But then the whole time you were right. And it was because you could feel it. You knew, like, It was like an inner knowing. And you can feel people, like you feel an energy, you understand it. It doesn't sit right with you. Don't ignore that. Like, don't ignore that.
Well, don't ignore it, but be careful of it, especially on public transit.
Right.
They don't like that. Oh. Hey, lady, I feel something. And I'm just curious if, hey, put me down. But, it's interesting. Again, we always reflect. We reflect on our lives and try to determine where exactly the switch got turned on. And I don't recall. I just recall seeing shadows in my room when I was in my early teens, at 12, like post puberty, and then a full on dead person when I was 16. And then I kind of went, whatever. Excuse me, wrote that off. And
As if to say, like, oh, I'm just crazy. I'm like,
oh, that's interesting, because I was and my listener knows, I was in a car accident when I was 16, got to the hospital, and the driver of the other vehicle was being led out of the back of the ambulance. I was riding up front because I really wasn't hurt at all. And he was being led away by the nurses, and his son was there, and his son looked fine. And then I asked my mom, did anyone get hurt really bad? And they said, well, the little boy died.
Oh.
And I looked at them and said, well, he looked fine when I saw him.
Yeah.
He must have had internal injuries. And they just stared at me because he died in the car. So I described him like head to toe. He was like, and I was looking right at him. I was watching him.
Right.
And his dad was shaken up and he looked fine. Years later, I actually, because it was over 25 years ago, I could go on the provincial website and actually pull up his certificate of death.
Right.
Where it was like DOA.
You can see.
Yeah, he was, and it showed all the injuries and I went, yep, confirmed. That was a ghost.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Would you or would you not say that let's call it the awakening process, like, so to coming to the understanding of what your connection did it not come from some sort of a dark period in your life or some sort of tumultuous kind of, because that's how it was for me. Like, it all stemmed from something very, like, difficult and dark happening within my life to then therefore wake me up, lead me through a process of meditation and so forth. And then that's kind of what woke me up. Like,
not for me. The shadows I saw in my room were the typical waking up between 3 and 4:30 in the morning, and there's someone standing at the foot of your bed, walking across the bed and up beside you.
Right.
And it was a little girl, just from her shape.
Well, this is touching back on what we said in the first interview about how each person has different gifts, and it'll pronounce itself through each person in a different way. And we were talking about how you'll only be presented with what you are able to handle, like, as if to say, spirit sort of knows your personality and what you can fathom, what you can take on. Like, you will never be given more than you can handle. So, for example, if it was me, if it's coming through me, it's mostly, like, as I said earlier, images of butterflies and ladybugs and happy things that are very positive, and like things that I've seen a lot in my life that I can understand, whereas they would never come to me with something that was a little more obscure or dark or quote unquote, like,
spooky.
Yeah, because I personally am not one to be able to handle those. Like, it's not my flavor, so it's like they know not to kind of shoot me with those sort of things. Whereas with you seem, your personality is more geared to that. You're very interested in that kind of thing, right?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I had the ability, well, I shouldn't say I had the ability. I saw a dead person when I was 16.
Like actual, or like
this was a kid.
We're talking about a ghost.
A ghost.
Okay,
like
sorry.
Full on
Just
walking out of the car. Yeah.
Be clear.
Yeah. And again, in hindsight, our fancy filter, the shadow in my room, or the shadows in my room, I reached out to the one walking beside my bed. I remember it clearly because of what my mother told me the next day. I reached out thinking it was my sister, put my hand in it, and then just fell asleep.
Right. Told
my mother, and she didn't even look at me. She was just working in the kitchen doing some of the dishes, and she said, "Oh, sometimes that happens." I was like, "That's your answer?" Because I didn't know at the time my mother had those. That's the side of the family I get.
Now, was she aware, or was she just saying that as like that's normal part of life?
It was always in her life.
Oh, okay. So she was aware.
Yeah, she was aware.
Right.
I didn't know what that meant,
right.
And she never told me. So years later, so maybe 5 years later, I'm in a car accident at 16. See a full-on apparition. So that, as far as I know, doesn't happen again. For ever.
Long time.
Yeah. So I am, well, actually I should say forever, but so I'm going to be a Mountie. I go in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and I'm out and I'm seeing dead people.
Right. Physical,
like dead people.
3D.
I don't see anything spooky at all. Other than one car accident, I pulled up and it was just like two cars off the side of the road. Didn't appear to be a big deal car accident. There was a woman standing at the door of the car looking into the car. And I pulled up, got on the radio, said where I was, what I was going to get out,
grabbed my gear, put the car in park, turned off the ignition, walked up, and I'm looking now, and the lady's gone. So, gee, where's my witness?
Right.
So walk up, and I look into the car, and she's sitting in the car, and she's dead.
Right.
So what I saw was her standing outside the car, looking in the car.
Her own body kind of staring.
Yeah,
like
and then
coming to the realization that she's...
and then she gone.
Right.
So that's the only time. But I look back, and like you said, spirit will not maybe allow you to see things that are going to really throw a monkey wrench into your life
it's not
at
gonna,
that point.
They don't try to freak you out, I don't think.
So here I am going through a career of being around, and it wasn't a whole career. Like I did, out of 28 years, I was in uniform for 7 years. 7 or 8 years. The rest was all plainclothes, organized crime, robbery, major crime kind of stuff.
Brave soul.
Drugs and stuff.
Brave soul.
Oh no, that's the easy stuff. The hard stuff is the traffic. And like, I didn't work traffic. But I have written tickets. I know. But the uniform stuff is scarier because you had to go to all these places first, and it used to be funny. I used to, be throwing jokes back and forth to the firefighters, those mattress packs. Anyway, they'd be saying, one of the firemen looked at me and said, you're pretty brave, guys in a house with a gun, you have to go in. And if there's a fire, like I have to go in. I said, dude, if the house is on fire, you go into it. If a guy's in the house with a gun, I can wait outside. Yeah. I'm not going in. If he's got a gun, I got time.
I got time. It's
you have to go into the burning house. Now, if the guy with the house is burning, he's got a gun, we're both screwed. But I'm not going to help you. But I didn't have to do anything extreme when I was working major crime. I dealt with a lot of victims.
Right.
And I mean that in both senses. We call them, in the Mounted Police, we call everybody we deal with as a client.
Right.
You're a client if you're the victim of a robbery. You're also a client if you're the robber.
I see.
So you're dealing with your clients. And my clients, a lot of times, were drug dependent and very low places in their own lives.
Right.
In the hindsight filter, the junkies, the drug dependent, and those with almost, some severe mental health challenges were very high vibration people. And, talking to some shamans and things, these people had literally the monkey on their back, this attachment that came out of them feeding on source energy, keeping them in addiction, keeping it. And until you remove that attachment, which actually I've heard looks like a monkey, and its face comes up here, and it's got the face of a cat with red eyes, but it's like the body of a monkey, and it literally will hover around somebody, and when their vibration drops, they're a higher vibration person. Their vibration drops due to trauma, and they'll step in, and they will just intercept source energy.
I've heard this.
And then keep that person in addiction.
Right.
So you can take, you get them into recovery. Right. They'll recover physically from the drug, but with that thing on their back, they will relapse relatively quickly. Right. Anyway, again, that I wasn't I was experiencing those people at the time, not putting a name to it, not understanding it. But I did have that empathy to both the victim of the robbery and the robber.
Right.
So we were dealing with that. Now, if I was completely turned on, that intuitive switch was flipped, it would have been really hard.
Yeah.
It would have been hard not only to see the victims, but it would have been really hard to see the offender client, because I would know that they're broken, and I would know that this thing is an attachment.
Right.
And it was years later where shamans had pointed that out, that this is how we have to deal with that. I've taken photographs of ghosts. I've been around people who are ghost magnets, and literally will set up a camera and click it 3 or 4 times, and ghosts will come walking around corners, and we're all looking at them like, why you? And it's just me. It's just, they come and play with me.
They feel safe in your presence.
Yeah. But
whereas if I was to deal with that, I think I'd pass out, and it would freak me, it would freak me out, But if it comes to me through, say, for example, a synchronicity, right? Like a song or an image, or I hear like a couple words on the radio or like a billboard, like the messages come to me this way, and that I can handle. That's a filter. Like, I like that. I'm seeing an actual apparition. I might have an issue with that for myself personally, but
the apparitions that I did see were, it was like they didn't see me.
I see.
The woman was looking in the car and the kid was with his dad walking away from me. As far as I was concerned, they were real people, which again, I wonder how many other people I saw like that I just assumed were real people from a distance. But I wasn't around. Like, I would go to the sign back when I was in uniform in a small town, people would phone up and say, I haven't heard from my Uncle Fred for a while, and he's, wonder if you can go check on him. Right. So it was helping out. It was kind of a check on well-being of Uncle Fred, and you pull up, and a classic story. This first story it reminds me of is pulling up into this driveway in the summer, getting out of the car. It was like a little shack kind of house, but the flies on the inside of the window were amazing. Yeah. So out comes a Vicks Vapor Rub up the nose. And open the door and walk in to find, Uncle Fred dead. But there were times, again, the hindsight filter, where I would talk to them like they were there. Right. And there were times I wouldn't. Right. And it was pointed out to me, it says, because you knew that they hadn't crossed over and they were still in the room. Right. And I was explaining to them why I was going through their drawers and writing down the medication and taking photographs of where the body was. Because at the time we had medical examiners in that part of Canada. So we weren't allowed to say somebody was dead. But we could, if there were enough evidence, like there was no head on like a farm accident, and there was no head or something. Okay, he's dead. Yeah. But you weren't really supposed to say it. You couldn't declare somebody dead. You had to have body removal come or the ambulance come but if it was obviously he's been dead for a week or two, get body removal to come over and they do the cleanup. So you're making these notes and you're writing everything down in the event that something could be a little suspicious. 99% of these things weren't, but you always took them as they would be suspicious death and continue. But I would explain why I was doing it to the dead person, who was, in this one case, he had died of positional asphyxiation. He was drunk and fell off the toilet against the wall and kind of passed out, but his body bent a certain way and asphyxiated. Right. So I was talking to him because the door of the bathroom was open and I was in his bedroom and I was chatting away with the guy and all by myself. Right. And then we're at other ones where it was administration, just admin, writing it down, waiting for the body removal guy and moving on. And when I had that pointed out to me, the light just went, oh, of course, that's why. Right. Yeah, because that is, knowing how I felt at the time, actually having it pointed out, it brought back all the memories going, yeah, it's exactly how I felt. I did not feel that he was dead. Right. I will say that even though I've never physically seen like some sort of entity or spirit or anything, apparition, nothing like this, I've definitely been in some situations in my life where I've felt like I have been physically protected in the way that I've been in an accident. Say, for example, years ago, one of my best friends and I, we were on a road trip, Alberta, Canada, freezing ice, terrible. Someone slammed on their brakes in front of us on a highway, this kind of thing. And the car, spinning, right? And we heard, both of us, to this day, we heard this massive crash, and we heard like the back of my truck completely smash, wow. And the next thing you know, we're spinning the opposite direction. We're in the ditch. We're sideways. I get out of the truck up to here in snow and not one scratch on the truck, not one, no car to be seen. Interesting. It was as if we had been, divinely, I to this day, I cannot. And there's other scenarios, but that was the most prevalent one where I know I've been very protected in my life. That's very much. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, I can go in all sorts of cool stories about myself, but I'm here to talk to you. Well, here I am. And you've expanded in such a way that your meditation has developed to a point where it comes very easy for you.
Yes, but it came from a very tumultuous time in my life.
What was that?
So I think I had gotten in a car accident, not the one I spoke of, but I got in a car accident. Again, unharmed. I was fine. But about 6 months after that, I started really experiencing a lot of panic attacks, anxiety, that sort of thing. And the only thing that was ever suggested to me was medication, and I wasn't really going down that road. But again, with panic and anxiety, I had started to feel so aware, a very heightened awareness of everything, how I felt, what I thought, being affected by everything. So I kind of just I wouldn't even drink coffee at the time. I just wanted to feel just flat out, I don't know, I guess you could say full on control of myself, if that makes sense. And then I did a lot of research because I was kind of at my wit's end. And I decided to start doing meditation. I mean, so many people spoke about it being scientifically proven that it can change your brain and it can change your life. And so a combination of that, going to the gym, doing some spiritual work, with an actual, for lack of a better term, like a Reiki kind of healing sort of friend of mine, better eating habits, better sleeping habits, that kind of thing. And then I slowly changed the physiology of my brain. And that wasn't the only benefit. Not only did I bring myself to a more calm, hum of a mindset, I also started opening what I think is my intuition, your third eye, what have you. And the growth has been exponential. Absolutely. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's
scary at first.
It would be scary. Yeah.
So
that
scary.
Whole third eye thing.
Yeah.
I opened mine in a meditation and saw a whole bunch of things, and including some Sanskrit kind of writing, which I've written down. Actually, I wrote it down, then photographed it, and it's in my phone. But it was interesting. I saw cobblestone streets and thatched roofs, and I flew down into this little town and was looking in the window at some people around this hearth, and it was amazing. And I saw all sorts of other things, and I've never opened that up again.
Right.
I've never gone back and had that meditation work as the way it did before. And it was one of those ones you pick up on YouTube where it's open your third eye.
Yeah. And some of them are warning, don't do this. Right?
I have to do that one then.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. I think for me, again, as we speak back to spirit, source, universe, they know what you can handle. Right. And so for me, I think they kind of spoon fed me over time, little bits of wake her up slowly but surely. And so that's kind of how it worked for me. So,
well, it's good. You had the baby steps.
Yeah. When they knew I couldn't handle any more than that.
The little baby steps.
Yeah.
And basically shutting me down to the point where dead people weren't bothering me when I was a policeman for all those years. Mm. And then after that in 2012 and then on, I was photographing them and seeing a little bit more of shadows moving and hearing voices and things like that. I was on a paranormal team. It wasn't that's what happened every day in my life, but actually going out and looking for these things. Because again, a lot of questions and you want to figure these things out.
Well, you were seeking that.
Yeah. So are you seeking? Are you trying to figure out some answers for the stuff that you've been gifted with?
I am. As we had a little conversation about it earlier. I mean, I think I've always been a seeker. I think I will continue to seek on my own, but I actually have felt as of late that I wanted to sort of seek someone out to kind of as a mentor to help me hone and kind of harness what it is that I am starting to kind of come online with, if that makes sense. I'm loving doing it on my own, and it's great. And it's really beautiful actually, because it's, again, like I said, it's been incremental. It hasn't been overnight, but what I do notice is that it's it's a relationship, right? And you're a channel, you're a conduit, if you will. So you're like a radio tower, and then it kind of comes through you and out. And so I'm learning to work with that, but I would love to actually sit down with someone who kind of knows more about how to harness it, use it, and also protect themselves as well. that kind of thing. So
Yeah, it's remember Joanna the medium, which is now Joanna the healer.
amazing.
She doesn't. She'll do some mediumship readings for people, but she is developed, ascended into more of a healing modality.
She's a massive part of my growth. Like her and a few others that I watch on YouTube. Incredible. Some of the downloads. It's amazing. There was a few readings where she'd say, things like, are you going to, like, you might be experiencing, goosebumps in this moment, and it just, whoosh, or like just downloads that things she's saying, and they've kind of like, oh, we're in a new level here. Like, it's like, it's incredible. Some of the things I've picked up from her.
Oh, Joanna again was one of the mediums we used to have on our TV show, our old podcast. And
she read for me.
Yes. And I was absolutely impressed with her. One of the first readings she had done on the show, it was from a guy in Michigan who was wanting to know if his father would come through. And she said, well, don't know who this guy is, but he looks like this, and he's saying, well, it could be, wasn't sure. And she said he's wearing a vest, but up on the vest he's showing me this vest, and he's very, very proud of his vest. And she's Polish and grew up in Poland and everything, and she's Polish Canadian, and she's not an outdoorsy person at all. And anyway, he's showing her this vest, and on the vest was a little square. And in the square, she said, he's very proud of this little square, but she goes, it's full of bugs. It's all sorts of bugs.
Okay.
And the guy just about loses it. He says, yeah, my dad was a fly fisherman and tied his own flies.
So she couldn't.
And
I got it.
That's in the parlance, that's being an evidential medium. That is showing somebody evidence of the person you're talking to is in fact the person, that's the identity of the person.
Yes.
Which is a great thing to do, but don't get tied up in that. Once you've got, my father was a fly fisherman, that definitely is him. Don't say, and he's also got a plaid shirt and he's wearing blue jeans.
Right, like
with
as
a
if to
chain.
say that's enough.
You're done. You've identified him. What's the message?
Right.
And she was very good at that, going through, boom, ID'd him, move on.
Yeah.
And so if you're out there and you're kind of in the beginning of mediumship, being intuitive, and you are getting messages from people, and you're reading cards and you're trying to identify the person that's coming through, once they're identified as, that definitely is grandma, that's it. Yeah. You don't have to ask grandma to juggle things or point out where she left her purse or something. It's just move on. They're not there to let the people know that they're around. They're there to say, hey, I got something I got to tell you.
And I actually really look up to people who have that certain gift. I personally don't feel like I get specific messages from people. I mean, I can let's say, for example, if that's the umbrella of the reading. Okay, so what is this person feeling about you, right? I can read the language of the cards, but I'm not getting any specific, unless I get like an image of something or something, like, you know what I mean? And this is all very new to me.
It's what you're doing is you need a focal point.
Right.
On my card reading course that I took, one of the people on the card reading course who was also a medium, intuitive, and she was in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So Dominique said, "Oh, do a reading for me," and I said, "I'm going to try something." And I grabbed a whole bunch of business cards with just the white backsides, and I said, "Here, put 7 of these down."
Okay.
And then I flipped them over, and every one I flipped over, I just got something. And I get a full reading.
Yeah.
By looking at the white business card.
Yeah.
And she's, well, how can you do that? And I said, I don't know, but I was just told in my head that's what I had to do.
Right.
And I think it was to show me that it's a focus point.
Yeah.
It's not the cards, it's the focus on them. But some cards have a writing on them.
A focus of itself.
Yeah. So those things, my cards, the ones that I use primarily are, because I did get 2 sets when I first got them, because someone said the Archangel Michael's really strong in you. So, okay, whatever that means. So I got the Archangel Michael cards.
Right.
So I got the Doreen Virtue, Archangel Michael cards. I couldn't read these things.
They're well used.
They're well used, but
Beautiful.
they're someone would say, okay, James, what do you see when you look at this card? What is it you see? And I would say, well, I see an angel and he's wearing armor. No, what do you see? I see an angel with a blue thing around its head and wearing armor. No, what do you see? I see a friggin' angel with the friggin' like what? And they went, oh, okay, never mind.
Right.
So left brain, me, boy, sees the picture. I'm not seeing something.
Right.
So the psychic that I was learning from had these cards. These are really cool because there's nothing on them.
Right.
And she said, oh, when you get these cards, other than their fractals, they come with a book, and all the cards have books, and they all mean something.
Right.
She says, take that wonderful little book and throw it away.
Right.
So, because this picture for Charlene could be totally different reading for somebody else. It's all on the focus that I get, or I'm focusing on the point. Now, that's me.
Yeah.
That's it. That's only me. Tarot cards, wholly something different. We're talking
Absolutely.
oracle cards.
Yes, we're talking.
Now, you, as you blossomed, young lady,
Yes.
you have your own deck.
That's right. Well, not just me, myself and 3 other women who have had a friendship for about, I think 17 years now, and we've developed this. But there are also some guest speakers in on the deck as well. So there's 7 of us who have contributed, but 4 main women is the core group of this deck. And we decided to put all of our hard-earned wisdom into this deck. And that's where we came up with all the different cards, the divination of each one of these cards. There it is. The Mystical Magical Mirror, Reflective Perspective, booklet, and deck. I know it's a big mouthful, but we kind of wanted it to be a little...
Hectic.
Yeah. I felt like, I thought it would be fun.
Well, it's definitely fun. It's just hard to see. Pass me your deck.
Okay.
So they're a lot smaller than this picture.
Yeah.
So they're actually smaller cards. The Mystical Magical Mirror, Reflective Perspective, booklet, and deck.
That's correct. You said it well.
I did after 3 or 4 times. What turned you in the direction of going out and having your own cards made?
Well, I'd say in the last 3-4 years along my ascension journey, I used to be kind of, for lack of a better word, very fond of card readings. And so on YouTube, there's a lot of pick a cards. There's a lot of, Aries and what have you, whatever topic kind of reading. And I kind of got obsessed. Let's say obsessed. And I was just so fascinated with this, this outlet of understanding oneself and how it is that you could look within yourself to see what the energies were around you, surrounding you, what it is that spirit was trying to bring to your attention, that kind of thing. And so I became very fond of these and like I said, a little obsessed. And I didn't mean to be, but I think that that's kind of what happens to some people when they first start experiencing card readers, as if to say, they're always wanting to know, like to be prepared, like what's coming, like what can I expect, that kind of thing. But little did I know that I was actually doing what I think we could say now is like homework, or I was studying, or I was doing research. So not only was I starting to understand card meanings, because I had seen so many readers talk about each individual card, but also I was picking up on my own intuition, right? So say, for example, you have a pick a card and there's 3-4 piles, and whatever pile you're drawn to, and then you listen to the reading and that reading resonates with you, well, something clicks in your mind like, oh, wait a minute, I guess my intuition is right. Because how could a reading resonate with you if you didn't pick the right pile? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So no, I didn't know. I didn't know that all that time I was doing research. I was studying. I was learning. And so just recently, about in March, what are we, December? Wow, time flies. My mother passed. And then, of course, this worldwide pandemic thing happened, and I was just at home and, of course, watching some readings. And I started noticing that a lot of readers had these what looked to be like recipe cards, sort of, and they were writing their own, sayings or what they intuitively picked up, and using these cards that they had made, these homemade cards, to do readings. And then I woke up one morning and I had this one sentence in my head, and it was a sentence like, it was like an inside joke that me and my girlfriends used all the time. And it dawned on me like, oh yeah, you have this list and you've been making this list, obsessively writing these sayings down that we share within our group over the years. And I had no idea why I was saving them or writing them down for that matter. But now, of course, hindsight, I can see why I was doing it. And why I was doing it was because we were meant to make a deck out of them. And so I approached one of the four, and she's an artist herself. So I said to her, you know, wouldn't it be neat if we made a deck just for our group, using our sayings, and you could make the artwork? And she said, honey, if we're going to do it that way and we're going to put that much work in, we're not just doing it for the four of us. We're going to make this happen. And so we called the other two and we, you know, talked it out. Did we all feel like it was a good idea? Yes, we did. And then the process started, and it took us 2 months, not even. It happened so fast. The choosing, we had over 100 sayings that we could use.
Where did you grab these savings? Where did you grab these sayings from?
Okay, so these are all, you know how friends have, like within your group of friends, and you have sayings of things that have happened, movie quotes, you know, like little things that you say in and around your group, or not just what you guys say, but like what's kind of floating out in society, like, you know, that's what's up, or asking for a friend, or, you know, like what in the actual, like, you know, those are some mainstream ones, but then there's some others that nobody else would understand. And so funnily enough, we noticed that these things all came from, it's like hard-earned wisdom, like years and years of being friends and using these sayings in certain moments to express a thought that didn't necessarily mean what we were saying, but we knew what it meant. If that makes sense, if that makes any sense to you, but
Oh, yeah.
I could explain like by showing you a certain.
You can certainly do that.
All right. So yeah, there's, like I said, there's 4 of us, the main group, and then there's 7 women in total that have contributed to this deck. So let me just see if I can. Okay, so let's say we've got things that most people would. Okay, so for example. Set Fire to the Rain. So we know that that's from a popular song that's happened in years past, right? Set Fire to the Rain.
Hold it a little bit closer, camera there.
Oh, okay, yeah. There we go.
Back up. Back up, so it focus. There you go. Set Fire to the Rain. Okay.
So one of my good girlfriends, she would say this when she was really annoyed. She would just say, dude, set fire to the rain. Like, but in a much more aggressive tone, bless her heart. And what she meant was like, this is really confusing. This is really frustrating. And so what we did was we not only went through, like we had literally hundreds that we could use. And so we went through all of these and started divinating what we thought the meaning should be. And so we decided, so say for example, set fire to the rain, it speaks about you're in a confusing or frustrating time, but you need to allow yourself to feel those emotions and to not be engulfed by them.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else could we use? Okay. So say, for example, this is another one that not everybody's going to understand. So this actually is a catchphrase, what a difference a day makes. It's from a commercial that we heard many years ago, and it was a commercial that used to play in this particular location that we always used to hang out in, and it would get stuck in our minds, and it drove us insane, but it ended up meaning to us, like, basically, time needs to pass. So, like, you know, sleep on it, let a day go by, and there's like a little jingle in our minds, and we get stuck there, you know, like, what a difference a day makes. Anyway, it's a long story, but this is where we started to.
No, don't skip this.
Oh, what is this?
Pink jogging pants.
Okay. Pink jogging pants. This is a funny story. So basically, I was hanging out at one of the girls' houses, and I had shown up to her house. And do you want to hold it for you?
It's okay, I think.
There we go. So I had shown up to her house, and I had shown up not prepared, and she lived more in like a kind of country setting. So I had not shown up with anything appropriate to wear. And so she kind of dug through her pile of old clothes and said, oh, I've got something for you to wear while we go on a dog walk. And so she pulls out this pair of jogging pants that was probably from 1987. And we laughed and laughed and laughed, because here I am in these jogging pants that are far too short for me. And it was just the longest laugh session we had had as friends. But so what we divinated this card to mean is that you are stuck in a rut, and that you need to try something new, and get out of this kind of pattern of
get out of the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. So as I said, every single card has a different, it's a language. It's a language that we made, right?
But it doesn't mean it doesn't obviously mean that the anybody who buys this deck has to learn know the language, because it comes with the language book.
And each card has a reverse meaning as well. So not only did we divinate upright, also reverse.
It's like that 9 of spoons or sideways bricks or whatever that tarot stuff is.
Sure.
yeah, I have no idea. But if you get the card and it's upside down, it means something different than when it's right side up.
Absolutely.
See, and my cards, I don't.
Well, that's the beauty of each deck, and as I said,
it's instead of 44 cards, it's 88.
True. I mean, each card has its particular like an umbrella idea.
Yeah.
And then it's either basically if you're going with it or you're going against it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right.
The yin and the yang of your cards.
Yeah. So again, some people will understand certain, everybody's heard level up. I mean, who hasn't, right?
Oh,
sorry.
It's okay. I'll do the camera thing. Here it comes.
Level up, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Right. So as you can see, this is an acknowledgement from source, your higher self, whoever you're asking during the reading, basically saying that you know yourself that it's time to level up, and that you are to take the steps one at a time to get to that next level, if that makes sense.
Yep. So here, I just want to hold this card up just to see what happens with the check mark.
Oh, that's fun.
It's actually a green check mark on this card. It says, you got this. But being that I have a green screen behind us with the view from the back of my house today, that's why you see birds going by and the clouds moving, because it's actually a film taken to the back of the house. I just wanted to see what the check mark looked like, where you could see the clouds behind it. That was kind of cool.
That is cool.
So you got this. Now, if you've got this, but you get the card upside down, so does that mean you don't have it?
Yeah, as if to say, you don't in fact got this, and that you should probably take a double look before you move on. The nice part is that what we did was we designed it. This is the reason why they're called the Mystical Magical Mirror Reflective Perspective deck, because every single card is made to look like a mirror. Okay. So we did that on purpose, as if to say, whatever card that you are receiving it's as if to say, let's take a look inside. It is mirroring back to you what is within you.
Oh, that's good.
Reflective perspective, you see. Also, completely forgot what I was going to say. Wait. Nope, lost it. It's a reflection. It's a reflection of yourself. And if you just, here's the thing. There, I remembered. Sometimes looking within is difficult. Okay, so that's why we made them a little bit funny. I mean, sometimes we need to laugh, right? You can't.
Oh yeah.
You can't always take it so seriously. And I find that a lot of card readers, or oracle cards for that matter. I mean, it's a serious matter to look inside yourself, but I think that's why we decided to make some of them a little bit funny. Like, for example, this one. Don't worry about it. It'll sort itself out. Okay. Why is there a broken phone charger on there? Well, there's a story behind that. Of course. Basically, one of my girlfriends, there was some alcohol involved. I handed her a phone charger, and the phone charger had been, taken out of the wall sideways. I handed it to her, asked her to fix it. She had had a few drinks. I left the room. I came back. She handed it to me. It was still in the same way. And she said, don't worry about it. It'll sort itself out, right? And it was just funny. And so that became a card. And it's basically saying, trust, have faith. You don't need any other, there's no point in worrying. There's no point in putting your focus and energy into that. Put it somewhere else, because it will work out regardless for you. So again, things like what in the actual, right? I mean, what in the actual beep, like, you know, we had to make it funny. We had to, like, put your tinfoil hat on. What? Like,
yeah,
you had to make it funny, you know, like, because if not, then sometimes we just take ourselves far too serious, and it's
Well, the other thing too is I know from reading cards for people, when someone comes in for a reading, and I used to every so often read at a place not too far from where I lived, about half an hour away. They would have me come in when the psychics they had weren't available, and I would read.
You're like, thanks.
and like I read, like if somebody actually really wants to pay me for a reading,
right,
I have them go to my Patreon account,
right,
and sign up for $3 a month for a year, which is like $37.
Right.
At the store, they were paying $120 for a reading.
Right.
So, and at the beginning, I thought, well, dude, I just learned how to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
And the lady who ran the store Denise said, no, look, Catherine says you can read. And Catherine is like the teacup medium. She is tea leaf reader, card reader. She's the one who told me about, she's the one who had this deck of cards with all the fractals in it.
Right.
She was a bit of a mentor to me, and I said, well, okay, yeah, if she thinks I can do it. And she goes, dude, you read for her and nailed everything. So you're good to go. Like, we need you. So I went in and did the readings, but I was still nervous. But the people are like, they're putting out money and this is serious for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I also.
Did you not feel nervous?
Oh, hell yeah!
My first few, I almost feel like these people are putting their faith and trust in me to help them get to some sort of conclusion about their quandary, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I the first time I ever went to read cards, a friend of mine, I said, well, how many cards you put down? Like the girl who first read cards for me and pointed all this woo-woo stuff out to me that I had, she would do a spread of cards face down and then do the pendulum over them and pick cards out. I asked Catherine, how many cards to put down? She said 5.
Right.
So the very first time I went to put 5 cards down, what I do is I don't mind if the other person holds cards. I know there's people that have phobia about that.
Yeah.
I say, shuffle them up and whatever pattern you want, put 7 cards down. And 7 came out of my mouth.
Right. And you meant to say 5, but.
And I went, I guess it's got to be 7.
Yeah.
So the first 2 cards were what happened a week and a half ago and what happened like 3 days ago.
Right.
And then the 5 cards were all what was coming.
Right.
So I did that for about a year. Then I had the card reading course just to get more articulate, believe it or not, about reading cards.
Right.
And be able to communicate things that I may run into that might have been negative, but I honestly don't get negative stuff from cards. Those people go somewhere else. I don't get them. So
neither do I.
She said that. Where was I going with that?
Sorry.
It dawned on me. Catherine came in because the person putting on the course thought they'd sneak in a bunch of psychics as victims of our junior card readings. Catherine walks in and I look at her and she looks at me and I said, come here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read cards for you. As soon as I put the 7 down, I realized why I picked 7. It was a confidence thing. Because what I told them what happened in the past, and I don't mean 10 years ago, I mean last week and a half.
Right.
Specific things, they look at me like, how do you know that? And then the confidence came, and then everything I got from the next 5 cards, I didn't question it in my head.
Exactly.
It just went right through.
And I think this is going back to speaking about how spirit kind of affects everybody differently, like shows you your gifts differently, that kind of thing. So what I've noticed with me is that not only am I using my group's friendship language, we'll call it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also, it's as if to say, spirit uses me as a channel in the way of knowing that because I have experienced a lot in my life, that I'll be able to come from an angle of A, understanding, B, compassion, and C, using all of that experience to add to the cards as I speak to the person. So I have a very good way of, I don't know. I've been told I'm eloquent when I speak. I have a very good way of describing things. I think it comes from quite possibly having deaf parents and needing to really explain things in detail.
Expressively explain
Absolutely,
things,
right?
yeah.
And so that's where I think my gift comes in the way of, that's how I affect people. It's like a soft, it's like a word hug, if you will. Does that make sense?
A big word hug.
Yeah.
The word hug comes to mind.
Right.
So this is out of focus, but it is the magical.
No, mystical.
Sorry, the mystical. Why did you put mystical first? The mystical, magical mirror reflective perspective booklet and deck, which includes the 54-page booklet and a bar of gold. Yes, it was hard to read. I wasn't sure if it was a bar of gold. No, 44 colorful.
Vibrantly
coloured. God. It was a bar of gold.
Yes.
You might get lucky and get a bar of
We
gold.
like that. There's a golden gild around the edges. It's quite
Oh, yes.
shiny.
Nice. Man, mine's worn off. You've got these for sale. If you go to your Instagram, the Reflective or Perspective Oracle, and it'll take you to where you could snag those. Now, it's Etsy or how do you say that?
Etsy?
Etsy?
No. So just for now, you would either message myself, Reflective Perspective Oracle, through Instagram, DM me, and we can totally discuss that. They're $50 Canadian per deck. Also, you can contact The Witch Is In. She also has a surplus of her, like the exact same deck. Obviously, she's a part of the group, and she could also send them to you as well. So either myself or her, and we can get them.
And The Witch Is In is The Witch Is In 13.
Mm-hmm.
The Witch Is In 13. Where's the witch? She's in 13.
She's in there.
Reflective Perspective Oracle is Charlene, and this is her deck, and it's very, very cool. And we have them kicking around the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, because my tenant has them and is flogging them around all the time, and they seem to work quite well. And you do readings too.
I do. So on my page, every second day I do a random pick a card, whether that be just general advice. What is your romantic partner thinking of you? What does your higher self want you to know? That kind of thing. And then every off day, I do a card of the day for the collective. So it's a general energy that's floating around the collective, because we are coming into a very unity consciousness as of late in our world. So
yes, that's kind of an important part of what's going on in the global community right now, is that fifth dimension event.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing to get rid of the third dimension ego.
Service to self.
Service to self, building our nest.
We're moving into a space of service to others, and it's beautiful, and boundaries, and respecting those, and understanding the differences between us and someone else, but still respecting that and loving them unconditionally, regardless.
It's about time, because the way things are going, like if you turn on the news, it's like, what the hell is going on? Ego, like we built the wall around our house. I always say the house, the town, the state, the country. Mm-hmm. Nobody come in here. This is mine. This is all mine. You can't have it because I am I, and I do I things. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, relax.
But you are I, and I am you, and
we are all together.
Absolutely.
Cuckoo, hold on. I am the walrus.
Cuckoo.
Yeah, I am the walrus. Well, that actually is a line in a John Lennon song.
No, I know.
Okay, fine. It's like young people, I'm not really sure. No, it's like she probably listens to that hippity hop stuff, and okay, fine.
I like all things.
Mm-hmm. I don't like beets, and I don't like peas.
No rice pudding.
Right. How about tapioca pudding?
No.
Yeah, it's like...
It's weird.
Have some bubble tea. Oh, no. It's like, there's fish eggs in here.
How did we get here?
I don't know. How did we get here? Well, when a man loves a woman... well, actually, they both love each other, because that's just pretty...
one-sided.
Yeah, pretty...
Unity consciousness,
guy.
okay?
that's old school Neanderthal. Me club grow on head and man, I take to cave. Why do I sound like Tonto from the Lone Ranger?
I don't know.
Tonto was actually a Neanderthal. No. Tonto was a smart one. That's just kind of funny. How did we get there? So where are you going next with, like, in your travels? Do you have you charted a course at this point?
A physical trail, or are we just speaking like
No, metaphysically,
like,
where are you?
What are your goals? By the way, that's one of our cards. What are your goals? Well, right now I am working on the Instagram page. I'm also working on my own YouTube channel, and it's slower than the IG channel, but I'm working on it, and I'm hoping to just do some readings. I think, again, service to others, and I love helping. It's my thing. I've found my purpose, if you will, and that is to help others and do it with a very loving and compassionate voice. And that's what I want to do. So I'd love to do readings. I'd love to, and not just share readings, but share my ideals and help the collective ascend higher to a more higher state of unity.
We cannot be an ocean without a little drop.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And every time I do a reading, every time I, plant a seed, another one of our cards, it affects everything. It's that you throw that pebble and it ripples.
Plant a seed. That is actually one of the. Remember, I was telling you when I saw hand signals. When I see the person standing, they get hand signals on path.
Right.
Got to break something. We still don't get. But what was the other one? Was they were wearing a satchel with seeds in it doing this. That was one of the other things.
Right.
That I saw. That. So it's like you look at somebody and say, "Oh, your grandmother, your grandfather says that you are out
sowing your oats."
Sowing. Basically. Well, no, not sowing your oats. That's another term for.
I know, but I meant like.
Yeah, no, you're out doing exactly what you are basically in our parlance and the way we deal with things. If I look at you and I say, "Oh, you are on path. You are to be," and what that is pointing out to somebody else who they are,
right?
And whether that seed hits them on the top of the head and germinates today or tomorrow or 20 years from now, at least the seed was dropped. Mm-hmm. That's all you had to do. Turn around and walk away.
Right. And you can lead the horse to water, right? But
yeah.
They have to water it. They have to drink it. They have to do all the nurturing and love and care in order to get to that. And that's what I was saying in the beginning of this entire reading was that I feel like it's all synchronistic in the sense that I've always been guided to the people that kept planting the seeds along my path to go, wake up, wake up, wake up, see it, pay attention, wake up. Like we're talking to you, and it just, it grew from there. So
I want to go to your YouTube page here.
Oh, okay.
That's why I pulled up. It's for those of you watching this on the video and saw me pull out my phone. It's not that I'm checking the time or my box scores or my okay stupid. I just wanted to.
What's okay? Okay, no, we're good.
It's what? It's where crazy people date.
Young kids these days.
Young kids, you young hippies. What is your YouTube thing? Because I'm going to prescribe to it.
Oh, Fully Charmed Kind of Life. And I think you meant subscribe to it?
I did, but I always say prescribe.
Young kids.
Young, really young. Fully charged.
No, fully charmed.
Charmed.
Kind of life.
Oh,
so it's kind of a play on I don't know if you remember the song years ago, and it was called Semi-Charmed Kind of Life. But instead of semi, I decided to say fully because who wants a semi-charmed kind of life? Why not have a full one?
Okay, so you only have 11 subscribers.
Oh gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Don't say this. 6
videos.
Yeah.
Because you're just beginning.
Yes.
She is just beginning.
Just beginning.
And so I've hit the prescribe button.
Okay.
You now have 12 prescribers.
Okay. Thank you.
And yeah. So, look, you have you're doing readings. You've got the really cool backgrounds, and that is really cool. And people obviously get a hold of you on here, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure on how
all
YouTube
reading
works,
prices, and it's all in the description box under each reading. So my email's
really
there, different pricing, that kind of thing. So feel free to shoot me a message.
please shoot her a message so she knows at least one person watched this or listen to it, depending on where you are, because the video of this actually goes out to all the Patreon subscribers first, and the audio goes out to everyone else who finds the podcast in the podcast universe, from iTunes to Spotify to iHeartRadio or wherever you can get a podcast. But the video won't make it to my YouTube channel for about a month because it's for the Patreon subscribers first. They get first right of refusal on the video part, and we go from there. But this has been Charlene. She's a reflective perspective oracle, and you can find her on Instagram. I can find her sometimes kicking around here. We made turkey chili tonight.
Oh, it was good.
Because of the
good chef, by the way,
the bizarre event of not being able to record the first interview. And I want to thank everybody who have tuned in and who are watching the video portion of this, because this is new to me, doing the videos. I may start doing some live streams with the two mediums and a large. So stay tuned. Kind of keep an eye out on that, on the Oracles with James Tyson on Instagram and on Facebook, and we'll announce things like that where we'll get a live stream going as soon as I find a good live stream platform. Is that Facebook? Do they do live stream?
Some people do.
Some people do.
And YouTube as well.
YouTube? Oh, yeah. I'll just stick to the YouTube thing. Yeah, because that's kind of fun. And I may be able to do that with my varying camera setups. And yeah, we didn't get a reading done, which is good.
Would you like me to?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
We could pull one card.
No, I'm good. Thank you
we're
very
good.
much.
We're good.
I'm good. We'll do that. I hate to find out that I'm losing a leg or something tomorrow. But you don't get that either. Like, I don't get people that come into our reading umbrella. We don't get the people who are getting hit by a bus or falling out of a plane the next day without a parachute.
No.
We get people who are
dealing with a heart-based kind of issue. Yeah.
Or I get the ones that are about to awaken.
Right.
Yeah, that whole, I think I see ghosts, but I'm not really. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Or there's this bright light that comes in my bedroom sometimes, and I find myself flying, and I went, yeah, you got to leave. No, because I do go to the alien conferences, and I do meet people who have really cool experiences and are freaking out, which then I send them over to Skeeter, who does the whole regression, because I don't do that. Because I kind of stay away from the alien stuff. Yeah, I saw them in Sedona. That was interesting. Seeing UFOs with. Yeah, that was really cool.
Oh,
so
I can imagine.
Yeah, you have a little night vision on, and you're watching them flying, going. So this is a UFO tour. We actually pay for this, and you provide us with UFOs. Now you're cool.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Again, thank you very much, Charlene, for coming out.
Thank you for having me. I super appreciate this. It's been a lot of fun.
Well,
and I'm sorry we had to do it twice, but
at least we got better at it the second time.
Two things came out, different things, different times, but
yeah,
we got it done.
We had our first interview that we did today that didn't record was way better than this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We hit different avenues. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
That's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Sing as they go, for to those voices. Up for the mountain. Here comes the mountain. Here comes somebody hide, somebody burn.